Well, hey, it's James Riley.
And Beth Riley.
And this is part of our Artist Spotlight podcast series. And Beth, who do we have on the phone?
Today we have another Beth with us on the phone, the daughter of the legendary Link Ray. Her name is Beth Wray Webb.
How you doing?
I'm doing just fine. How y'all doing?
We're doing good, just trying to stay quarantined as much as we possibly can. What have you been doing with yourself during the quarantine?
Well, believe it or not, where I live at in Chesapeake, Virginia, it's not really been too bad. I do go to the store, do what I have to do, and come back home,
Right.
Because everything's kind of slowed down. I was told Daddy's music is still going strong. I said, well, that's good.
Absolutely.
The virus might be here, but it ain't stopping his music.
I don't think anything could stop Link Ray music.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for saying that. And I'm going to tell you, if it wasn't for you and Beth and all of his wonderful fans, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing now, and he wouldn't be getting the recognition he's starting to get finally that he should have gotten years ago. I just wish he was here while it was going on.
Well, it's one of those things of, it seems like every year just being surprised he's not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. How could that be?
I was invited to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. When Rumble was inducted, I had broken my foot, so I wasn't able to go. I emailed Shelby at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and asked her when would be a good time to come there, because I was told that Daddy's guitar was hanging up in the display in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and people were sending me pictures. We were invited as VIP guests, and they treated us so wonderful. And my brother Link, the one that's next to me, Daddy was on a Dick Clark show, American Bandstand, in 1959 when Raw had come out, when my brother was born, and Dick Clark sent Mama a dozen of red roses. So he was able to go, and Sonia Flowers, she has been working with me, and of course it all came to a stop right now, because Rumble was created in Fredericksburg, Virginia. So they're going to put up a historical marker in honor of Dad, and they found the landmark where the arena was at, where he done it.
Wow.
So I think that's pretty cool. So she was able to go with me, and a friend, her name's Carol Terry, and we grew up together since we were 9 years old. So we all four jumped in the car, and here we went to Ohio and went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and they were absolutely wonderful to us. And everybody knew Dad.
Yeah.
And big fans of him. And they said, Beth, he's going to get in there. I said, I know he is. I said, I'm not stopping, and he's going to get in there. I'm going to keep going until he does, Yeah, they were really good to me. It's all four of us.
That's really cool. Rumble, it feels like that could be where punk rock or rockabilly, everything can be traced back to Rumble, just giving an attitude to rock and roll. And it was so different than anything else that came out right then.
We celebrated the 60th anniversary, because Rumble was released March 31st, 1958. And we celebrated the 60th anniversary in New York City. Her name is Denise Mercedes, and she's with the Stimulators. And their band is the cover band. Matter of fact, they went to L.A. to do the cover band for Motley Crue when they made the movie Dirt.
Oh, okay.
And she's the only female guitarist that ever shared the stage with Dad. Dad was playing in New York and invited Mercedes on stage. When Rumble Indians Rock the World came out, I went to New York City for the opening, and Stevie Van Zandt and his wife Maureen and her sister and all of us was there, and she came for the opening, and that's how I met her, and we hit it off ever since. I mean, she's a big fan of Dad's. She's been right there with me every step of the way. Rumble Indians Who Rock the World is up for an Emmy. I have learned a lot about my history when I seen that, and I tell you, I recommend everybody to go see that. They done such a wonderful job. And how that came about was Stevie Sellis did Up Where We Belong, and it was put into the Smithsonian in Washington D.C. Well, they thought it was only going to be there for 3 months, and we're Shawnee, and so it was in the Native American part of the Smithsonian, and they had the grand opening. You would not believe who's American Indian. I didn't know until that. So we were there to cut the ribbon, and ended up staying in D.C., I think they said 6 months.
Wow.
Then it went to the Native American Museum in New York City, and Chris played there, my youngest son. He plays Dad's music, and Stevie played drums for him. They played there at Smithsonian there, and it stayed there for a year. Then it traveled all over the world. And then he got up with Catherine Bainbridge and Christina Vaughn and Lisa Ross and Alfonso Morena, and they end up making a documentary. They're like family.
Yeah.
I mean, they are so wonderful. And it's still going strong. And that was in 2017 when that come out.
Yeah.
And now it's up for an Emmy. So, guys, let's hope they make it. I think they will. So, Rumble has been in a lot of things.
Absolutely. Well, I think about the documentary It Might Get Loud with Jimmy Page and Jack White and The Edge from U2. And my favorite part of that, I think about Jimmy Page and all these people that would play air guitar to Led Zeppelin songs. And here's Jimmy Page going through his record collection and pulling out Rumble, and he's playing air guitar to your dad. And I thought, man, how cool is that?
I thought that was pretty nice too. I'm telling you, the musicians are wondering the same thing you asked me. Why ain't Link Ray in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? It's like somebody told me, Daddy was the trunk of the tree.
Yeah.
And metal, heavy metal, pop, rock, all of them just branched right off. They asked Daddy in an interview who played rock and roll before him. He said there wasn't no rock and roll.
Who were some of his influences that he had?
Chet Atkins was one of them. I'm sure everybody that knows anything about guitars and music, they know who Chet Atkins is. And I remember when I was a little girl, Jimmy Dean came to the house one time because he was so tall. But I was little, so I thought he was a giant. It was just the different things I remember when I was a kid. He came up with Willie Nelson, and he toured with Patsy Cline.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and that's before he started. And Daddy, a lot of people don't know, Daddy only had one lung. He was in the Korean War, and he caught TB. And the doctors told him he'd never be able to play guitar or sing. Well, good Lord had different plans for him, didn't they?
Yeah.
Because I'm going to tell you, some of them high notes he hits, I couldn't do it, and I got two lungs. And I've had a lot of musicians tell me the same thing. He played at Hank Williams Sr.'s funeral. And, and a lot of people don't know that. Yeah, Dad's done a lot. He's got a lot of history behind us.
I see a similar thing with you're talking to Dwayne Eddy and Dick Dale, and now hearing about your dad, the country influence. Dwayne isn't much of a stretch, I guess, necessarily. He was the king of twang, I guess. When I think of Dick Dale and your dad, to think of that country music background
right.
is really interesting.
Yeah, Daddy started in Portsmouth, Virginia, which that's where I was born. And he started playing what they call country swing back then. And he drove a cab. And after I was born in 1954, we moved to D.C., Washington, D.C. And Daddy didn't want to play country. And that's when he started inventing his own style and everything, taking a pencil and punching holes in the woofers and the speakers, to get the sound and everything. I've seen them when they make songs, how they make the sound on the records. I'd sit there and watch them. I mean, it was fascinating watching them. I love my dad, so I was right there, That's just like these pedals that gets all these sounds. Daddy made them sounds before the pedals even come out.
Yeah.
They got it pretty easy compared to what he had to. He had to think of different things to come up with to get that sound. A lot of people don't know that on January 15th of 2006, after Dad passed, the governor of Maryland declared Link Ray Day on January 15th. And March the 6th of 2006, he was given a Lifetime Achievement Award from the first Americans in the arts, which is Native American. And me and Chris met, and Shane and Rhonda, my brother and sister, met Wes Dooley there.
Oh,
and
that's cool.
Super nice guy. And on June the 8th of 2006, he was inducted into the Native American Music Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And Stevie Van Zandt, that's when we first met him. He was the one that did the presentation. Crystal Gale, there's a whole bunch that's in there. And Ellen Bellow is the president of that. Then they had a tribute. That was January the 15th of 2006. And that was in Maryland. And then the second was January of 2007, and that was at Brookshire, and that was there in Virginia. Then June the 9th of 2009, Rumble was put into the National Library of Congress.
That's really cool.
Yeah, he was inducted into the Southern Legends Hall of Fame in Oklahoma City at September 11th of 2009, and then May the 2nd of 2013, Dunn, North Carolina, which that's where Daddy was from, declared May the 2nd Link Ray Day.
Oh, that's cool.
October 13th, he was one of the nominees for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but he didn't get in. And then April the 14th, Chris, my son, he did a CD in honor of his grandfather called Fire and Brimstone, a tribute to Link Wray.
Oh, that's cool.
And then May the 2nd, 2014, Dunn put up a historical marker in honor of Dad, and it's right close to where he used to live. It's on 301 South in Dunn, North Carolina. So if anybody's ever around there, they ought to stop in and see it. And they also finally got a museum there, and they got a display. Daddy's in one of the displays there, and I give them all the plaques and everything that I have received. And it's in there. In December 2014, Vince Ray designed the guitar. That's who designed the guitar, if you haven't seen it. It was the Eastwood with Dad's picture and everything and the guitar. Have y'all seen it?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's really cool.
He done an awesome job, didn't he? He really did. And every design, he told me, represents one of Daddy's songs.
That's really cool. And Vince Ray actually is the designer of both logos that we have for our radio show.
Oh, okay. I give him mine to put in the display. Daddy was from Dunn, North Carolina, and every time they interviewed him, he was proud to be from Dunn. He would mention Dunn every time. Black River Swamp is about Dunn.
That's cool.
And Pins and Grass commercial. I know y'all seen that. I mean, they run it for 3 years, but the first one was March the 16th of the year 2016, and Daddy was inducted into the Baltimore, Maryland Music Hall of Fame on May 22nd of 2016. And then June the 13th of 2017, that's when Resolution Pictures presented the Sundance Award-winning film for Best Storytelling, Rumble, Indians Who Rock the World. And it's still going strong today, so I'm very proud. Stevie Van Zandt put up Teach Rock. The teachers can teach each program that was in that because it's your history of the Native Americans. Rumble is being taught in school. And I had an 18-year-old boy tweet at me on Twitter. It was right after I got on there. I didn't know really what I was doing. And he told me that he learned Rumble in school today. I thought that was so cool. And I said, Daddy, he would be so honored and so humble. He wouldn't believe what is going on. He wouldn't believe it. It's such, I'm just so honored and so humbled over everybody getting behind Dad and getting the recognition he finally deserves.
Now, everybody knows your dad from, his songs like Rumble and all that, but his earlier stuff with his brothers, the band, the Palomino Ranch Hands, what can you tell us about that?
I was a baby then, really. I don't know much about that.
Yeah.
After I was born, is when we moved to D.C. And that's when he was playing country swing. I do know that.
Yeah.
I know that he was the house band for Milt Grant in the D.C. area. It was like the American Bandstand in D.C. I remember sitting in front of the TV watching him on TV. I knew what time, and I would sit in front of that TV, my eyes glued until he got, until he went off the air, and then I knew it wouldn't be long, he'd be home. Milt Grant is the one that put up the tour, and that's how they ended up at Fredericksburg, because Daddy and them was just a front band for the Diamonds. I don't know if y'all know who the Diamonds are.
Oh, sure.
Something come up, and they told Dad that to keep, playing. And then Milt Grant went up to Uncle Ray and told Uncle Ray that they wanted Stroll.
The Stroll, yeah.
Yeah. Daddy says, I don't know no Stroll. And Uncle Doug said, well, I know the beat to Stroll. And if anybody's seen the interview, Daddy tells you, he started playing, and his God Jesus is acted right into him and started playing Rumble. That's how it was created. And it was called Eyeball. I'm so glad it was changed.
Yeah.
And the guy that owned Cadian, he didn't like it. He could not stand Dad's music. And his stepdaughter heard it and said, that sounds like a game fight, like rumbling. And they compared it to West Side Story now, and West Side Story came out afterwards. But that's how the name got changed. And Jack the Ripper, I love Jack the Ripper.
Oh,
to me, I don't think Jack the Ripper got the same quality recognition. To me, it should have been right up there with Rumble.
It's hard to pick a favorite, that's for sure. I mean, going through the discography.
Yeah.
It's funny, a few years ago, I did some radio promotion with Robert Gordon. Did an interview thing with him and talking about his first two records. Your dad was on guitar, because they had approached Robert about, hey, what about Link Wray's guitarist? And he's like, oh my gosh, well, yeah, I mean, that would be amazing. He said, it was tough as a vocalist to try to sing over top of him, in concert, but, which I can imagine. But it's funny, like even doing an interview with Cyndi Lauper talking about the New York days and going to see Robert and your dad at some of the clubs back then. I can only imagine how crazy that was.
Well, like I said, I inherited loss of hearing, and I inherited it from him. So, because that's why he had to put the louder it was, the better it was. He'd be on stage and he would tell him to turn it up. It wasn't loud enough. I was like, oh my gracious. One guy was telling me that Daddy's amp went out on him, and or the other band that was playing the same time Dad was, and I think Dad blew the tube in the amp because he kept turning it up. I said, that sounds like something Dad would do. But I mean, people tell me, they share their stories with me about when they were playing with Dad, and every one of them's just been so, I mean, it just means so much to me for people to share their stories with me. Matter of fact, the lady, her name was Jackie Henderson. She lives over in London, and she was with her niece. And she said she walked by this bar, and her niece was about 12 years old. She told me the story. I just got it. And said that they walked by this pub and said, what kind of music is that? And she says, Auntie, that's Link Ray. Everybody knows who he is. I said, oh, that was so cool.
That's cool.
Yes. I've always been told anybody that's played the guitar knows who he is.
Oh, yeah. I did an interview a couple years back with Eddie Angel of Los Straitjackets, and he just raved, of course, about playing with your dad. I think Los Straitjackets did some stuff with him, and I think he even did some rehearsing and played with Link early on. I mean, not early on in Link's career, but Eddie's career.
Right.
It's a huge influence on him.
And, Dad's first, I'm the second. Third generation, his grandson shared the stage with Eddie Angels and Straitjackets on the second tribute.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I got a picture of them two playing together. And Robert Gordon, he was really a sweetheart when Dad passed. But, I mean, everybody's just been so wonderful. They really have. And I really, really appreciate y'all wanting to talk to me about my dad. I could talk all day and all night and keep right on talking. I just wanted people to be aware of his songs being in movies like Pulp Fiction, Independence Day, Desperado, It's a Boy's Life, Blow with Johnny Depp, all different kinds. Jack Daniels, Fire. That's when they did the Fire and Brimstone, and they had this band to do it, and it was so cool how they did the commercial. Then they turned around and did the black and white version of Rumble this past year, and in the Grassy commercial, the Gucci commercial, they did the Swag. I was telling my brother Link, I said, out of all the songs, I'm surprised they picked Swag because it's the B-side of Rumble.
Yeah.
But they did, and they did a great job on it, on the commercial. So his songs has been in movies, it's been in commercials. They used Fire and Brimstone and Lawless. That wasn't Daddy singing. They wanted the bluegrass, and the guy that did it did a good job. Everybody said they should have left Daddy's version, but I understood the reason why, because they wanted a bluegrass style. It was a good movie, and like I said before, Dad's music goes with anything and everything. No matter what the situation is, one of his songs is going to go with it.
Where can people go to find out more about your dad, assuming they haven't heard of Link Ray before?
Diana Rice wrote a book about Dad, and it's called First Man in Black. The publisher hasn't released it yet. They were hoping to have it done when the documentary come out. And now that the virus and everything has hit, that's kind of slowed things down.
Right.
But that book is coming out also.
Okay.
So, I mean, she interviewed everybody and went everywhere. She found out stuff that I didn't even know anything about. She taught me some things.
Yeah.
I said, okay. Because when you're the child, you don't know everything. And Dad kept me away from the business part of music and everything. And so when he passed away, it was all new to me, but I was bound and determined I was going to do the best I could do for him. I try to make my dad proud, and I hope he is.
Well, Beth, we really, really appreciate you taking the time out to talk to us and enlighten us on some things and share some stories, and it's just been a blast talking to you.
Well, thank y'all so much for inviting me on. And I really appreciate it. And it is so nice meeting y'all.
Absolutely.
And maybe one day we might meet in person. You
I look
never
forward
know.
to that, yeah.
I would too. I would too. And I want to thank everybody that's listening to let them know just how much it means to me for the support that everybody has given me for my father. His music's going to live on for years to come, forever.
Oh,
because
definitely will.
his music, you can find anything in his music, and it would go with anything. And I really appreciate the fans and everybody for the support, and I want them to know that.
His music will definitely continue to live on, and it is universal. So people, generations from now will still be discovering the power of Rumble and all the great music he did.
I mean, it was banned from the radio, and you tell kids that today, what? Instrumental? I don't understand. I said, well, you got to understand the times.
Yeah.
Yeah, they even banned it from New York City and Boston, Detroit. Well, it was so nice talking to y'all.
Absolutely.
And I want to thank y'all so much.
Well, thank you.
And I'm on Facebook for my dad. So anybody that wants to friend me, please do. I get on Twitter. I don't know that much about Twitter, but when it comes to Dad, I just post what I feel.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's the only reason I'm on there, is to keep Dad out there and keep his music going and try to give him the recognition that he deserves.
Oh, absolutely. Definitely keep doing the good work there, because it's definitely keeping his music and his name alive, which is fantastic.
Thank you so much. And like I said, I couldn't do it without y'all. Thank y'all.
We appreciate you.
Appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Thank you.